He swaggered into the restaurant, a cloud of arrogance trailing behind him like expensive cologne. His suit was sharp, his watch was worth more than a car, and his smirk was condescending. His eyes scanned the room, dismissing the elegant decor and the quiet hum of conversations, before landing on a young black waitress. She was moving between tables with a quiet grace, her smile warm and genuine as she took orders. He saw an easy target for his amusement. As she approached his table, he leaned back, making a show of it for the nearby diners. "Hey," he called out, his voice loud enough to turn heads. "You." He gestured dismissively. When she arrived, notepad in hand, he didn't even look her in the eye. Instead, he looked at the other patrons, a cruel glint in his eyes. He announced for everyone to hear, "I'll give you $100,000 if you can serve me in Chinese." A ripple of laughter spread through the nearby tables. Some people snickered, others looked down, embarrassed by the man's audacity. It was a mean-spirited joke, a way to put a service worker in her place, to remind her of her station. The man's friends at his table chuckled, egging him on. They were all expecting her to stammer, to apologize, to be humiliated. The air grew thick with anticipation, the quiet clinking of cutlery replaced by an uncomfortable silence. The stage was set for a public shaming, but the waitress didn't falter. She didn't flush with anger or shrink in embarrassment. The warm smile on her face didn't disappear. If anything, it became calmer, more knowing. She held his gaze for a moment, a silent challenge in her eyes. Then she dipped her head in a slight, respectful bow and replied, her voice clear and her pronunciation flawless. "Nin hao, xiansheng, nin xiang he dian shema." The sound of perfect, fluent Mandarin sliced through the restaurant's atmosphere. The laughter died instantly. Jaws dropped. The arrogant businessman's smug expression froze, replaced by a look of sheer, dumbfounded confusion. He blinked, as if he couldn't process what he had just heard. The people who had been laughing just moments before now stared in stunned silence. He had expected a joke, but what he got was a checkmate. He couldn't believe it. This had to be a fluke, a lucky guess. He decided to double down, to expose her. "You think you're clever, huh?" he sneered, switching to French. "Alors, apportez-moi la carte des vins." "Bring me the wine list." He said it fast, with a native's accent, convinced he would trip her up. Without missing a beat, she replied in equally perfect French, "Bien sûr, monsieur. La voici. Nous avons une excellente sélection de Bordeaux ce soir." "Of course, sir. Here it is. We have an excellent selection of Bordeaux this evening." Her accent was impeccable, her grammar flawless. The man's face was beginning to turn a shade of pink. He was no longer in control. He was being outplayed at his own game, in front of an audience he had created. He tried again, this time in Spanish, asking a complicated question about the daily specials. She answered him effortlessly, describing the paella with a vocabulary that suggested she wasn't just reciting memorized phrases. He threw Italian at her, then German, then even a bit of Portuguese he'd picked up on his travels. Each and every time she responded with the same calm confidence and linguistic precision. The waitress wasn't just speaking languages, she was commanding them. The restaurant was now utterly silent, everyone captivated by this unexpected duel. It was no longer about a cruel joke, it was about witnessing something extraordinary. With each language she spoke, the man's arrogance deflated, like a punctured balloon. He was the one who looked small now, his wealth and status rendered meaningless. He had tried to build a wall of superiority, and she had dismantled it brick by brick, with nothing but her intellect and grace. Finally, humbled and defeated, he stopped. The waitress simply stood there, waiting patiently, her smile never wavering. It was then that her colleague, another waiter who had been watching from afar, quietly walked over to the man's table. He leaned in and whispered, "Just so you know, sir, that's Amelia. She's working her way through a PhD in linguistics at the university. That's her 9th language you just heard. She works here 3 nights a week to support her mother and younger siblings." The truth landed with the force of a physical blow. This brilliant, multilingual woman wasn't just a waitress. She was a scholar, a dedicated daughter, a person of incredible depth and talent who he had tried to reduce to a punchline. His attempt to mock her had only revealed his own profound ignorance. The man's face turned from pink to a deep, burning red of shame. He couldn't meet her eyes. He fumbled in his wallet, pulled out a single $100 bill and slid it onto the table. He mumbled, his voice barely a whisper, "Keep the change." It was a pathetic offering, a fraction of his boastful promise, an attempt to buy his way out of his own embarrassment. Amelia looked down at the money, then back up at him. She didn't pick it up. Instead, she gently pushed it back toward him. With that same unwavering, gentle smile, she said, this time in perfect English, "Thank you, sir, but respect is worth more than any amount of money." A spontaneous applause erupted throughout the restaurant. Diners, waiters, the kitchen staff who had peeked out to see the commotion, everyone clapped for her. They weren't just clapping for her linguistic skills. They were clapping for her dignity, her poise, and the powerful lesson she had just delivered. The wealthy man sat there, completely exposed. His money couldn't save him. His status couldn't shield him. On that day, in that luxurious restaurant, he learned a lesson that no amount of wealth could ever buy. True class isn't about what you have. It's about how you treat people. And true brilliance can be found in the most unexpected places. Never ever judge a book by its cover. Thank you so much for watching. Remember that kindness and respect are the universal languages we should all strive to master. If you enjoyed this story, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring content. See you next time.